How are you?
Oh, yeah, I guess, well, yeah.
From long time. Yep. Right here. Yep.
My issue is getting through. That's always my issue. I mean, I can tell you if I did, but I'm not willing to do the
Oh, you got just another crash. Lady coming from another lady. Right at,
No,
no, right at 91.
Okay, I'll call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order for 7 o'clock for Thursday, July 18th, 2019. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, are there any additions to the agenda?
I would like to have the casino.
Okay. So we'll, on the asterisk, the casino. I move to unasterisk the casino, item 11C. Is there a second?
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Attendance, Charlie is out of town and Steve is AWOL.
Short meeting.
Short, vote should go quickly. Now Amy, you want to, is Amy here?
Yep,
Okay, you have the floor.
okay. So our bidding procedures require us to, anything more than $20,000 go out to bid. But I'm looking for a waiver of that because the Munis software, there's really not a lot of other options. And I know West Hartford went out and picked a different option, and now 5 years later, they're going back out again because their option has discontinued working. So 100 towns across the state of Connecticut use Munis. It's not like it's a software nobody's heard of. There's user groups, and it's going to be combined town and Board of Ed software, and I'm asking for you guys to waive the bidding process for me.
Have you ever used that, the new software?
Have I used Munis?
Yeah.
Yes,
You have,
for 12 years, 13 years before I get here.
and you liked it?
Well, I'll tell you from a non-accountant perspective, people will tell you it's rigid. You have to go step 1, step 2, step 3. But from an accountant perspective, I like that. And it requires me to make journal entries if I want to change things. I can't just pick this up and move it here. And the software we have now lets you do that. Lets you pick it up and move it here. So debits and credits don't necessarily have to match. Accounts could be inactive and they still let you post to them. So there's not a lot of controls in the software we have here. And of all the towns that our auditor knows has switched to it, we're the only one left on it. Everybody else has already migrated away from it.
Does it require a lot of training, the new program?
Well, right now we have very few users actually using our accounting software. There's like 4 departments actually using it. Everybody else counts on us to do it for them. So I would like to do some training and some knowledge so that people can get their own stuff, look at their own stuff. Nobody will be able to change anything, but they'd be able to see it. They'd be able to actually input their own budgets. And then we roll them once they get input by the department head. Each level after that is handled by us. So there's a lot more controls. I can control what people are seeing. I can control that only these 3 departments are yours. So there's a lot of things that we don't have in our software now that we would have in this.
Okay.
So,
What's the cost? How far?
$124,000
And
for
it's,
implementing.
and it's a split cost between the town and DOE?
Well, it's in the CIP, which is the next item on the agenda, but
Right, but this is a joint project?
yes,
Okay, that's a great thing.
yes.
Is there a provision in our policy to sole source projects?
Not really. Our policy really doesn't talk about professional services at all. It's very limited.
Does it,
Do you want it?
may I ask, Joe?
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you know, Joe, sorry to put you on the spot, but in terms of bidding in general, is there a provision that allows for sole sourcing?
There is not.
There's not
There
even
is not.
really one that we could go out to RFQ and just pick. like electrician or plumber, it's really limited in what it allows you to do. They're really, I mean, it's really more a PO worksheet kind of policy that says you're going to do a worksheet, you're going to get 3 bids. If it's X, you're going to go out to RFP if it's not, but it doesn't talk about any of the other things, like that you shouldn't need POs for electric bills or any of that other stuff. There's a lot of things that are just not addressed in our policy.
Joe, do we ever do things on a sole source basis like that?
No, we don't.
We never do.
Never.
Because, you know, in the business I was in, the policy was you went out for bid. However, if there was justification, you know, something unique, better, or whatever, you could write a sole source justification. And if it
our
was well
policy-
written, you could win on that generally.
Well, our policy is $20,000 or more, it goes out for an RFP or an RFQ, and then an RFP. Anything less, 3 prices. You are limited with a lot of stuff. I mean, you know, when you're dealing with construction projects, there's a million people out there. But for instance, software, Outlook. There was no reason to go out for an RFP to get another consultant to give us Outlook when we wanted Outlook. You're very limited with the IT issues and the software issues. And, you know, I mean, and
I don't know, did
Not to
NextGen go out to
defend.
3? Did it go out to RFP for
I don't know.
NextGen?
Probably not.
I mean,
The only disadvantage of putting hers out, you're gonna get all these crazy accountant firms that are gonna come in here, and it's not what we want. And, you know, that's,
Do we know the Munis will? Oh, they're not going to bid, right?
no, they won't
well,
finish.
we have a quote already. The CIP request was based on a quote from them.
Okay. Do we have the, I've never waived the policy established by the board before. We've just changed them. So do we have, can we waive a policy?
I
They
think we
did in
can,
Canton all the time.
because,
Because
and the
it
Board of
shows-
Selectmen establishes the policy by vote. So we can
So you
waive.
could waive it.
Do we have a policy on waiving policies?
No.
This is-
No, but
Just
they
like this
allow
is
waiving
directions
the
on
bidding
shampoo.
process. So another good one would be an actuarial firm. If you knew you wanted it to be X, you know, that would be another place where, because it's a specific provider, that would be another place that you might get a waiving of the bidding policy. And they did it regularly in Canton for specific types of things, like certain services by a certain company, or, you know, like NextGen's a perfect example. There's really only one police software out there, and it's NextGen. And if you go across all the police departments, they're all going to tell you that it's NextGen. So, I mean, it's really the same kind of thing. It just happens to be accounting software, but 100 towns use it, so it's not like it's not known. And if for some reason I left here tomorrow, there will be other people who do finance officer stuff that will be able to pick up and use Munis. It's not like nobody's going to hear. The city of Hartford uses Munis on both the town and the school side. So it's used by a lot of places. And like I said, it has a lot of controls, a lot of restrictions and controls. Not everybody likes that always, but from the accountant in me, I like that.
Can I add something that adds to your decision-making process? That is that the school was notified during the CIP process that there's no longer support for our current software, and that ends a year from now. And it takes time to get stuff in. So if there's some sort of, if the town is not going to go with Munis, the school's going to have to make a move to do something else. Because
be a
we
bad
don't
idea.
have anything right
Not
now.
have-
And we would prefer to have the same software
Yeah.
so that we are tied. It makes it
Yeah.
easier for both sides.
It does indeed.
That would be our preference. But we can't wait to make a move on this from the school side.
Well, you have the same urgency on your side.
I wanted it a year ago,
I
more
know.
than a year ago when I got here. I came to talk to you guys about it actually really early, saying, I'm not sure where this software came from, but I can't believe this is what you're using.
Yeah.
It's not broken, well, it's not unsupported or whatever yet.
No, not yet.
But we will be unsupported, so we have a hard deadline that we have to have things transferred by.
Are there other similar software programs that are out there?
No, there's things like AccuFund, which is what we have now. So there's like 3 towns in the state use. So there's things for small towns or small nonprofits. AccuFund is actually a nonprofit software. So that's one of the reasons why it doesn't work for towns and why most of them have gone back off it. You know, they went because it was Bloom Shapiro and it was through the state of Connecticut with the Uniform Chart of Accounts project. But they have all since gone off it because it doesn't do what it's supposed to do for basic accounting software.
So because
I mean, there's a QuickBooks, but that would be very difficult to do across all the funds. I mean, so there are options out there.
we can't run the town
Yeah.
with QuickBooks.
There are towns that do.
Because there aren't similar organizations, and because our policy is silent on sole sourcing, which taking the Teddy Roosevelt approach means we can do it, I'm comfortable with waiving the policy.
Okay, you want to make a motion or you want?
I would move to waive our bid procedures policy for the acquisition of, where did it go?
Munis.
Munis,
Software.
M-U-N-I-S.
Munis software purchase.
I'll second. Discussion?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Passes.
Thank you.
Did you want to say anything about CIP?
I think Kathy probably should as the chair.
Okay. Do you want to say anything about CIP?
Well, you got our list, so I'm basically here in case you had any questions about that.
Okay.
Okay, then I'll share from the accountant side. We asked for 1.5 million. We ended up with 900,000, but because of the additional appropriation, the only things not 100% fully funded in the CIP group's request are $100,000 out of road maintenance, the $100,000 for the Broadbrook fire truck, which we plan on bonding, and the $20,000 for the dog repair. Those
What was
are
the last
the only
one?
three items. The dog pound. Those are the only three items not funded 100% off the $1.5 million request from the CIP group last fall.
And if I may say something, the Board of Selectmen in February put forth to the Board of Finance an amount for CIP, and the amount was 86,000.
886,000.
Yeah, 886,935. So, and what we're doing here is funding everything that we gave to the Board of Finance to fund. So that's good. And because we defaulted to 2%, then the amount that went to CIP was 2% more than last year's, which increased it from our 886,935 to 900,600. So we actually have, when they also, the CIP did reduce, we said for one of them, we said for the police vehicles, we said we would give them 45,000, but CIP only gave them 44,900, so there's $100 difference there.
Which they got in the additional appropriation.
Yeah.
We rounded up the additional appropriation.
So basically, when we did the math, we had $13,825 left over. And that money they gave to the South Road Sewer Project, which was for $94,000, but the town engineer felt that that probably was going to be not enough. So we thought we'd give the extra money to...
How much underfunded is that, Bob?
We don't know how much underfunded it is, and we're not sure. But it could very well cost more than $94,000. That's the amount that the Water Pollution Control Authority gave us as an estimate. But there's feeder pipes that have to be hooked into the main sewer. There could be more of an expense.
Would you propose then to apply this additional money to that project?
Yes, absolutely. So,
It's to apply that.
Yeah, right.
I guess, so I'll make a move, we approve the CIP allocation for $900,660 as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
This was unanimous from the CIP.
Yes,
Appreciate their work.
yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Minutes approval. I move to approve the special meeting minutes of June 12th, 2019.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I move to approve the regular meeting minutes of July 20th, 2019.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I move to approve the public hearing minutes of June 27th, 2019. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Communications. Is there any communications? Okay, I don't have communications either. Public participation. Is there any public participation?
I would like to speak on a different item, but I suspect it would be appropriate to speak when it came up. That's the 12A.
Okay, we could take it out of order if you want. Maybe after public participation.
Yes, that would be fine. I mean, I just like to be heard on that, that's all. I don't want, I don't care if we do it now or ever.
Okay, well, can you wait then? Would you wait until we get to the new business?
Sure, if it... Yeah, of course.
Okay. It's a, I don't know. All right, so public participation. Marie?
Marie D'Souza, 10 Rice Road, Bradford. I'm probably going to read a letter that I'll be giving to you at the end of tonight's meeting regarding an incident that took place here, which is on video. I'm filing a complaint with you in regards to misconduct by the Deputy First Selectman, Steve Dearborn. On June 20th, 2019, his continued violent, hostile attitude displayed by Dearborn escalated to the extreme to where I became nervous due to his violent response after a resident upset him. For those of you that were here, you know about the money flying across the table towards me. The resident involved has been written to, and the Journal Inquiry reported on it. Bob, you took the time and effort to write a letter regarding the individual that originally was speaking and put money down on the table, and sent it out to the media, which is not my issue, but it's going to come off of that. The verbiage and the language that you used fit more in line with Dearborn's actions that evening. Has any action been taken to you to discontinue this behavior by Dearborn? His derogatory comment to this resident, meaning myself, therein his voice was ran to the board at the close of the meeting, and you can refer to the tape of that meeting because it's clearly on there. When I sat down in front to observe, he angrily stated, "Are you going to keep your nose up my," and these are derogatory comments, to fill in the blank. That comment was so disturbing to me, I could only reply, "Yes, I am." I revealed my feelings to you that night, and upon leaving the room, Dearborn was in the hallway. He then stated, "I can't talk, the so-and-so is there." No resident of the community should be subjected to this arrogance by a board member. Please take whatever action is necessary to handle this complaint. I will be patient and wait in your response. Marie D'Souza. Steve Dearborn has, on more than one occasion at town committee, town hall meetings, both in public hearing and here, what he does and says at a public hearing is his right, but when he sits up here as a board of selectmen representing the community, he needs to do just that. And his anger was taking out towards me, and I had nothing to do with the original issue. That is unacceptable by a selectman, never mind a deputy first selectman. So I have a letter to give to you, which is pretty much verbatim to what I just indicated here, and I'll be waiting your actions. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public participation? Yes.
Kathy Simonelli, 71 Depot. So, I didn't know Marie was going to read that, but since she did, I guess I can, what's the word I want to use? It's been a very long week. I can say that basically he's done the same to me. He's ranted about signs, special interests, while staring me down in the back of the room. He's used not flattering language when doing so. He accused me when the cameras went off of having stolen his sign. He said, "I'm looking right at you," with his finger point. It really is unbecoming of a selectman, period. Certainly of the deputy first selectman. And if we're going to chastise residents for speaking their mind, I think we need to look behind the table.
Okay, thank you. Dick?
Dick Beckham, 37 Long Road. I didn't know what he was going to do this either. But the gist of this whole thing is the town gets a black eye, and a lot of press that we don't need, over something that's nonsense. And the first place is, Board of Select, or a member of the Board of Selectmen had no business bringing up about his little signs that somebody vandalized and or took or whatever they did to it. It's inappropriate and it's not town business. Anybody that's put a sign out for anything, this has them run over, they're stolen, they're thrown in the street, or, you know, it's not selectmen's business. There's nothing you can do about it. So it was inappropriate right from the start. And I think it gives the town a bad eye. We don't need this. Thank you.
Okay. Further public participation? Yes.
Paul Anderson, 89 Main Street, Crawford. This gentleman wanted to speak, and you told him he could wait until, what was it, 12A came up? Does that mean that items are now open to the public? I'm confused.
No, but I appreciate, we do make changes in the agenda to take into account people who are coming to speak. And
I'm not criticizing, I understand, I'm just trying to...
no, well, and I'm saying that we do take into account, like when I made up this agenda, I let Amy speak first, ahead of everybody, and it was really new business.
No, I understand.
And I know that they're going to speak about the Warehouse Point Fire District, and just out of courtesy, we might. But as long as it's okay, then we'll
Only
wait.
question, believe me. I
Okay.
don't see it as a big problem, I just want to understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Further public participation? Yes.
Jillian Hubbard, 40 Mill Street. This afternoon, I had printed the current July 11 recommendations and also had printed the previous June 20th. And I had noticed that there was a mistake on page 4. It's the first page that really says anything, where it says A, proposed charter revision to increase the professional capacity of the town staff, number 1, section 66B. In the June 20th copy, the 612 is actually crossed out to say 620, and that isn't reflected in this one. So I just wanted to put out there that there are a few discrepancies within the final draft, and to just make it known to do a once-over one more time before it's sent to the charter.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. You're absolutely right. So we'll make that correction. Right now, I was waiting for that. It's, as you said, it printed off. It's on the website.
Yep.
So we'll make that correction. And the, well, I'll wait till I get to the charter, but we're going to discuss the charter a little bit as an agenda item.
Okay. I just wanted to let you guys know, because I know that, you know, it's coming up on the time that it needs to be finished.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, further public participation. Okay, hearing none. Going once. We'll move on to board commission resignations and appointments. So I move we appoint Alan Baker to the Inland Wetlands Watercourse Agency for as a regular member for a term expiring June 30th, 2023.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I move we reappoint Albert Grant to the Agricultural Commission as a regular member for a term expiring August 1st, 2022.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And now, we have two applicants for the Ethics Commission. And there's only one regular opening, and there's an alternate opening. I talked to the chairman of the Ethics, and he said he wasn't concerned, he liked them both. I called them both, Christina Krasenzik and Michael Misluck, and they both said that they would be either a regular member or an alternate. So if anybody has a person they want to nominate for a regular, I would.
Which one applied first?
I don't know that.
Got a coin?
Yeah.
They both applied on the same
I
day.
can do that too.
They both applied on the
They're
19th.
both on the same day also.
I will say this, though, and maybe I'll have.
Great.
Yeah, and no, they're both excellent candidates. So so maybe I'm going to influence you guys, or maybe I'll make the motion then. Because when I talked to Mike, he was happy to do it, and Christina also said she would be happy to do it, but she also felt she had some time constraints. So just based on that alone, I'll nominate Michael Misluck for a regular member of the Ethics Commission for a term expiring January 24th, 2000. Actually, let's change that to January 1st, 2023. No. Oh, okay, 21st, 2003. Is there a second?
Second,
Any discussion?
I have a question on the agenda.
Okay.
What's with the either January or July?
I think, now that I read, I think that it depends on whether it's an alternate or a commission member.
Do you know which one's which?
Yeah, because I'm going by the regular comes before the alternate. So that's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna check that. Give me just 1 second. We should stick with the January 24th date. That's consistent with every other member.
Okay. Keep your thing there. How about the July 18th?
I don't know where that came from, because there are no alternates listed, and there's no expiration date in July, so I'm not sure where that came from.
Okay.
So let's, just erring on the side of consistency, let's make them all on January 24th.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So we have a motion and I believe a second.
Yep.
And so any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I move to appoint Christina Krasenzik to the Ethics Commission as an alternate member for a term expiring January 24th, 2023. Is there- Okay, discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
It's nice to see new people.
It is. It is. Now we'll move on to charter revision. And
We're doing so good.
so anyway, last Thursday, the Board of Selectmen approved the final recommendations for the Charter Revision Commission, gave them to the town clerk with one error. And she gave them to the Charter Revision Commission on Monday, July 15th. The final BOS recommendations to the Charter Revision Commission are on the website. Next Monday, July 22nd, there will be a joint meeting between the Charter Revision Commission and the Board of Selectmen to discuss the recommendations. Then the Charter Commission will present the Board of Selectmen the final charter changes and ballot questions. I'm not sure when that'll be, but it'll be shortly thereafter. Then the Board of Selectmen will choose what questions they want to put on the ballot. The time for that Monday meeting, it's going to be held at Scout Hall, and it's going to be 6:30 in the evening.
In the interest of transparency, can we move that meeting to here so it can be televised?
Actually, I talked to the RTC, and they have it scheduled, and they're going to choose their candidates.
It's the night we endorse
We
our
already,
candidates. I couldn't move it.
we already noticed it.
So it's in the
Wow.
paper, so there you go.
So Bob's the
And I
problem.
know,
Any other meeting.
Yeah, and he offered any other meeting, but
Probably could have changed it if we hadn't already noticed it
We
too. but-
we could change the night of the meeting, not their meeting, our meeting.
Well, I
well,
think
but it's
that's
a joint
reasonable.
meeting, and actually it's their meeting, it's the Board of, the Charter Revision Commission's meeting.
That's a joint meeting, is it not?
Well, it's going to be their meeting, we're going to attend their meeting, they're going to lead the
I was going
meeting.
to say, you're going to be on vacation.
That's true,
Charlie Szymanski's still in Florida.
right.
He'll be back until Tuesday or Wednesday. I'd really rather, unless you have an issue with it, I'd like to move it when we have our entire board here.
Is a time constraint. We have to have those questions, and once you explain, I talk to them about the questions, they're going to give us back the questions, and then we can say yes or no, and then it goes obviously to the November ballot, and the residents, the voters can say yes or no.
Understand, I've been sitting in on the Charter Revision Commission meetings pretty regularly, and they have not yet worked all the way through the various 13 issues that they're working on. They went through about 6 or 7 of them last Monday, and they could really use another night's work to get it all in shape so that the review would be final and proper.
Okay, let me talk to the chairman of the,
I'd like to delay it, I really would.
okay,
So we have all our people here and give them another night to work off all the rest of the issues they're working on.
okay. Paul?
For information, the Charter Revision Commission has scheduled every Monday till the end of August meetings at the Scout Hall.
Yes.
So you're aware that that's their schedule at this point, is all the way through the last Monday in August.
Okay,
So
But I
they can
think,
always not meet, but they
Yeah.
scheduled that.
I think more important than that is they really haven't finished their work from the time we gave them our comments.
yeah, and I'll talk to John Matthews tomorrow,
Okay.
and he'll have to cancel that meeting because it's scheduled for Monday, so then that's fine.
Okay.
And we should make sure that the rescheduled meeting is here with the cameras,
That makes it a little more difficult too.
not with a 5th week.
That's true.
So there's ample time the 5th week of the month because nobody has 5th week.
Good point. Okay, we'll see what we can do. Okay, any other discussion on the chart? Okay, discussion on the casino. So Andy, you talked to David Capiello.
I did. I talked to David a couple of days ago. I've been trying to reach him for the last 4 or 5 months without a whole lot of success. He's been busy while the legislature was in session. But I was very encouraged by this discussion. He said that the Indian Nation, MMCT, is fully aligned to continue the building of the casino here in East Windsor. I was concerned about that, hearing very little about it. He said there's no reason for alarm. He said the holdup is that it's been so long since they got estimates that their project manager has taken another job, which is a big subcontract, and many of their contractors, electricians and other people that have other jobs, and their schedules don't match anymore. He said they have to get current estimates, which means they have to find new contractors, get current estimates before they can really get their financing nailed down. That the lending institutions will listen to them, but not really talk to them until they have something firm in hand. His estimate was that that he believes that all that can take place between now and the end of August, and that we really should see shovels in the ground in September or October.
Probably October, because we got to look at his plans. It'll probably take us 30 days just to make sure that he's met all the building standards.
So I was encouraged by the conversation because I was really very concerned since David wouldn't call back, and that's very out of character for him. Over the last 20 months since I've been on the board, for the first 15, 16 months, if I called him, he would call back. If I asked him if he would sit in on our last meeting of the month, he would make an effort to do that, and none of that's been happening for the last 4 or 5 months. So I figured no news is bad news, but in fact, I guess it is not. That's what I got.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. So the next agenda item is the Tyler Regional Animal Care Shelter. And last night, Andy and I met with the Police Commission, and we discussed the Tyler Regional Animal Care Shelter. That's on Sullivan Avenue in South Windsor. Very productive meeting, and we're going to be on the agenda of the Police Commission August 14th and continue the discussion. We hope to visit the animal control shelter with the animal control officer from East Windsor and get her perspective on the two shelters. And Bob, you want to say something?
No, I think the meeting was productive.
Okay. Moving on to the next, and that would be Mr. Flynn.
Louis Flynn, 17 Spring Street. As most of you know, I'm the chairman of the Board of Commissioners of the Rouse Point Fair District. I feel like the bride that was left at the altar. All winter we went around and around and around seeking an inclusion in the budget. And this board submitted a request to the Board of Finance for $232,000 to defray a tax inequity that lands on our taxpayers. We went on again, off again, fun again on that. The final presentation by the Board of Finance was the $232,000. Unfortunately, the year before, we were not in the budget at all. The three proposed budgets failed their referendums. Therefore, the charter, as you know, reverts to the year before plus 2%. Well, we weren't in the year before, so we ended up getting zip out of that.
2% of nothing.
2% of nothing's not. All right, I stand up here and ask for a supplemental appropriation. And there is precedent for it. I don't want to go down what we do. Broadbrook and Rouse Point share the fire suppression job. Everybody does a good job. Nobody's arguing about that. But what's not right, I repeat, is that our taxpayers pay for us, and they pay in essentially half for Broadbrook. That's not right. So before all the budget referendums occurred, the selectmen and I, the first selectman and I, and my board, agreed to sign a document that said any money received from the town would be used in lieu of taxes. So I'm not up here asking for the money to have a party or something like that, but rather to rebate to the taxpayers on a pro rata basis. And it would be at least some fairness to the situation. Right now, it is the same old unfair situation. We've improved our services. We have many nights of the week, paid firemen on duty from 11 in the night until 7 in the morning, and they're out the door as fast as they would be in Hartford. And that's an improvement. And we've done that on our own. And we held our budget from what it was last year. We cut down certain places, but we held it. We're doing a really good job. Our taxpayers are being taxed twice. And it's not fair for them to pay for the services out here and then pay us. And I'm asking that we be included in a supplemental appropriation. If we can put money up for bathrooms at the Little League field, or we can put money up for that slide pad or whatever the heck it's called, we can do it. It really is sort of a sad joke that fire protection, fire suppression in this town is taking a back seat. The police get what they look for, basically. Broadbrook Fire Department gets what they look for, basically, whereas Point Fire Department gets zipped. And that is not fair, and we're asking at least some help in addressing that inequity. I won't go through all the things we do. We cooperate with each other, and we're working on trying to amalgamate the districts and all that. But this is for now. And we kind of got caught by a technicality in the charter. When the 3 referendums failed, we ended up getting 2% of nothing. And it's not fair, and we ask your support. Thank you.
Any more? Do you want to say anything, Jim? Okay.
Only if I have to.
Okay. My question would be, how are you going to rebate it to the taxpayers?
Well, the only way it could be fairly done would be on a pro rata basis. If it had to be done, it would cost a little money to do it, but it's not
What do you mean by pro rata?
Well, you take the total tax pay. We have a budget of $600,000+, right? This would reduce the tax, and that's raised by taxes.
Yeah.
This would reduce it by $232,000. So that creates a fraction, essentially a third. And,
Okay.
okay. So we would rebate each taxpayer
A percentage.
basically a third of their assessed taxes that are due in the month of July. You know, they're part, in our situation, a person in Warhouse Point or in the district gets on their tax bill the town tax and the fire district tax. So we would rebate from that number. There's no, it's not additional money to what we're already collecting. That was not our agreement to start.
That money would clearly go back to the taxpayers.
How
Yes,
would
sir.
that happen? I don't think we have a mechanism to do that.
Well, I think we can
Has
make a
anybody spoke to
mechanism.
the tax collector?
Look, we can make we can sign an agreement to do it. It's not an issue.
Well, you guys get your money all in whole by August 10th. So I don't get, I mean, we collect it throughout the whole year. So we take on all the delinquencies and everybody who doesn't pay.
Right.
So I don't get how that would work.
Well, you
I did
get
talk
paid
to
for
the
that too, don't
tax
you?
collector,
You get paid for that.
and she was not even asked if that was feasible.
Well, I think if I can just interrupt, we're not going to make a decision tonight, because one reason is Charlie's not here, and he asked to be here for this, because he's
I
been...
understand that.
So I think we've defined the problem. You're saying that you want to rebate this money to the taxpayers. Let's work on that. We'll convene next, that'd be August 1st. That's our next meeting, and we'll see what we can do.
All right, the only other thing I'll share is we don't have enough surplus fund balance to do that right now. We
Okay?
have $107,000
All right.
over our 20%.
Okay, all right.
So we
All
don't
right.
have 232.
Okay.
The only thing I would like to add is why wouldn't we act on it tonight?
Well, because Charlie's not here, and I said, I wouldn't act on any of this.
Well, I realize that, but I'm tired of making this trip out here to come and ask for money every time. I mean, you guys made a bunch of decisions tonight already. Either make it one to send it to the Board of Finance so they can kick it back or deal with it, or not. I mean,
Yeah, I hear
come
what
on.
you're saying, but, and I'll apologize.
You just waived the policy like that at the beginning of the meeting, no problem, now we can't make a decision on this?
Well, I think there is some homework that needs to be done before we can move forward. In anticipation of this conversation, I called OPM to find out if it is possible under the general statutes for a political subdivision, which is what the fire district is, to lower its mill. I didn't realize you guys were looking for a rebate. So the question that I asked and still don't have an answer to is whether it's possible to lower a mill rate after a tax bill has gone out. And the response I got from an undersecretary at OPM at 6:30 was, I don't know, I got to check. So there's some due
I
diligence.
don't think you could do that, but you can do a rebate, I'm sure.
That seems like you could, but that's how we got here to begin with, is it seems like we could and then we couldn't. So I think out of an abundance of caution, there's a
It's
reason
not
to
exactly
check.
how we got here, but
The other thing is, what if we were to go forward with this, what happens next year?
Well, no, I don't think we should do that, because next year's next year. This nonsense of kicking the can down the trail is not the way to do that. We got the short end of the stick.
That's exactly what this is, though, Louis.
Yeah, no, but listen to me. We got the short end of the stick, and we're trying to alleviate that for people that are inequitably treated in this town. And it's the same stuff. Oh, we could do this. A fourth grader could do the math on this. This is crazy.
Lou, you're a lawyer. You have to know you have to be in compliance with the general
I also
statutes.
know that if you can find money to put up a $500,000 bathroom at a Little League field, and that thing, whatever it's called, slides around on the water, okay, you can do it for fire protection. This town is the only town in the state of Connecticut of the 180 towns that kicks the fire department down the street.
Lou, may I ask you to do something?
Yes, sir.
I'm all for giving the department the money. I don't know the mechanism.
Okay.
What I would propose that you do is put together a 1 or 2 pager that says how you would plan to dispense the money back to the people. Amy's a big player in this thing. She's got to help decide how we do it. And it's got to be done right. So let's do it right, and let's find a way of getting the money in your hands. But I think it starts with you people telling us what your plan is for getting that money back in the hands of the people.
well, it
Can you
doesn't
do
matter
that?
because she doesn't have the money, she just said. The money's not there, so it doesn't even matter. She just said she doesn't have the money in the fund balance.
You have how much in the fund
Just
balance?
107,000.
107,000.
So we're wasting our time.
That's over the 20%. You can go into that 20%.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. That's not written in stone anyway. They're one of the highest unexpended fund balances percentage-wise in
I
the
think
state.
that's why I wanted to take a little more time.
I don't want to get into it. The treasurer is also the lady that told me that the Broadbrook Fire Department was a town fire department when this all started. And that's why they get their money, and that's why the town pays their bills, and that's why the town is willing to throw a bond issue out and get them a fire truck. Because they're a town fire department. Well, they're no more a town fire department than we. Okay, they're a corporation, a nonprofit corporation. But the answer is, I think it's a legitimate request on your part that we come back with a short explanation. I have to be out of town next week, but I'm sure somebody will come here with it. Mr. B. or,
I'll be August 1st, so it's 2 weeks.
I'm sorry?
It's August 1st, so it's 2 weeks from
Oh,
today.
2 weeks. That's one of the week I'll be out of town, I'm sorry. Correct. That's a fair request, Dan.
Yeah, I really do believe that if we got your request and how you plan to dispense the money back, then we've got to go to Amy and find out what money's available. We've got to see if there's other ways we can tap some money to put the money in your hand. And I don't know the answers to those things.
Cut
But I
the
think
check
it's-
and we'll write a
it's-
bunch of checks.
I think it's a start to have you people tell us how you plan to put money back in the hands of the taxpayers in Barrow County.
Well, that's a legitimate request. Thank you.
Okay. It's all right, we'll move, go ahead.
I just have a quick question with understanding how all this works out. Jillian Hubbard, 40 Mill Street. Why is Warehouse Point a separate entity from our other fire departments? Shouldn't all of our fire departments in town be under the same grouping within the charter as well as within the budget? And also, since we're making corrections to the charter now, if what the issue is something within the charter for the Warehouse Point Fire Department, can we make that change before we have to wait another 5 years when the charter revision is up again?
Good questions, and I was going to answer it until you made it a little more difficult, so I'll let Lou.
Our district was set up in 1911 through a special act of the legislature. We encompassed this, and it was expanded the district. It really was just the village of Grouse Point. And it had other things to take care of the sewers and the sidewalks and things like that. Then those things went by the wayside, and later on, it was expanded down to the town line. Essentially, it goes along the Scantic River. This side of the Scantic River has been covered by the Broadbrook Fire Department, which has been around forever. It is not a town fire department. It is a corporation that they set up years ago, a nonprofit corporation. It is not a town fire department. For many, many years, we levied a tax, the town gave them some money. We stopped levying the tax, the town gave each fire department a stipend. The problem was we weren't getting enough stipend to take care of certain things, like the firehouses and the fire trucks. So we said, okay, don't give us a stipend, we'll issue a tax, just like the charter allows us to do, which we have done.
Their fire district charter, not the municipal charter.
That's correct.
Okay.
It's our charter, okay? And we've done that the past 3 years?
Yeah.
3 years. And we've cleaned up a lot of problems that we had financially in the sense of fixing up things. Our problem is that we raised the money from our taxpayers, who also get a bill from the town, like every other taxpayer in town does, and part of that bill is used to pay for fire protection out here, outside our district. So our voters are paying for the one in Warehouse Point, us, and they're paying their share, essentially half, out here. And the thing that is so unequitable, not only does Broadbrook get a stipend, no, they don't get a penny cut out of it. They get a stipend of $464,000, plus there are a ton of expenditures that are buried in the budget, and you never see that.
They don't get a stipend.
Point of order, Bob? I thought.
You can debate that all you want. They get $464,000, excuse me, just let me finish. Then, so what happens is, our people are paying twice. That's what it comes down to. We came out and we tried to go through the budget process and ask at least give us the same amount, 464. And we got cut to 232, okay? And we got all goofed up in the process of the referendum. And we got nothing because we hadn't been in the year before. Now you ask, why don't we put it all together? We have been working to try to make it one big district and take it out of the town budget. That's a process that's a work in progress. That's the issue that hasn't been finalized. What I'm trying to do is get a little equity for our taxpayers. That's it.
And I'm going to add a little bit more.
Well, good.
And then we'll get to you, Jim. Mr. Flynn is right that in 1911, that the state legislature gave the Warehouse Point area the ability to tax, just to take care of the Warehouse Point area. And actually, and I wish, I forgot, I should know. Who sits right there? Bill Lowe's was, yeah, I wish he was here. But originally, Broadbrook was really thriving, and they had the Broadbrook Mill was thriving, and they had a fire department just to protect the Broadbrook Mill and the houses in the Broadbrook area. And there are actually two parts of the fire department. The supervisors had one fire department, and the workers had another. So but when there's a fire, the mill shut down and people went out. Well, I don't know when it happened, but eventually the Broadbrook Mill's fire departments merged into just to be the Broadbrook Fire Department. And then, as Lou said, town started funding both. And then what happened in 2015, which was when I took office, when I came in here, they were trying to, they being the town treasurer and the tax collector and the administration before me, we had a scheme where they were going to tax the residents of Warehouse Point for the Warehouse Point fire and the Broadbrook residents for the Broadbrook fire. And we got almost to doing that. We had made up tax bills and we were ready to do that. And you would have, on your tax bill, you'd have the regular town tax and your fire tax. But then, it was about April, I think, we had an agreement with the Warehouse Point Fire District, and we gave it to the lawyer to make sure that it was a legal agreement, and he says, you can't do that. The town cannot pick out a group of people and say, we're going to tax you, and that's what we're doing. We picked out the Broadbrook people and said, we're going to tax you. Now, they could tax anybody in their district, but we couldn't tax the Broadbrook people, so we said, we can't do that. So we couldn't, town one couldn't do anything that's illegal. But at that point in the budget process, we couldn't put, or the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance didn't want to put the, because they had allocated their money all over the place, and they didn't have the $400,000 to give to the Warehouse Point, so they just had a choice. Either they had to tax the taxpayers for their money and continue to run, or they would just had to stop doing fire protection. They chose to tax the taxpayers to keep running, but that was a mistake that the town made, and that mistake forced them into taxing the taxpayers, and now we have an inequity of taxing, and really, we tried to help correct it this year, but because the budget failed 3 times, it didn't happen. If the budget hadn't failed, we would have been halfway there, but it's a big mess. When I'm out of office, somebody's got to fix it, I hope.
We answered your questions.
Okay, Jim.
So I was a treasurer of the fire district, and this whole conversation, frankly, I agree that it's late in the game to try to get a supplemental appropriation. It's very cumbersome to try to do refunds and rebates and everything. But this whole conversation underscores the importance of trying to resolve this 4-year-old problem. This has got to be fixed. People have to get serious about doing this. For 4 years, the Warehouse Point Fire District residents have paid 75% of the town's fire costs. And the Broadbrook residents have paid 25%. For 4 years now. The Warehouse Point taxpayers have made the improvements to the buildings that needed to be made, the parking lots, the boilers, everything else. So they've spent that money. And somehow, I'm encouraged that the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance this year finally at least took notice and tried to put some money in the budget. But it's not enough. This problem needs to be solved. All of the fire costs for the town of East Windsor need to be identified and shared equally by all the residents. Why can't we figure that out and get around this 2% or put it in the budget and make sure it stays there and make sure the budget gets passed or whatever. Why is this such a hard problem? And I'm not gonna go through this whole history like we just tried to do. You know, that's pretty much what happened. But don't forget, in the beginning, 4 years ago, we were in a budget for $400,000. And that was taken. That just disappeared. So, that needs to be replaced, still. And all of the fire services for the town of East Windsor need to be covered by all of the taxpayers. And we should be able to figure this out. If there's more, the effort was made this year, some effort was made. Maybe if we made more effort and thought about it some more, we'd come up with a solution. But it needs to happen.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to move on to the next, if that's all right. All right. So the next is the...
Well, Bob, can I just say one more thing?
Okay.
You know, it's a lot of work to go through and figure out how we're gonna do these rebates and get the money back to the people. Again, without you guys making a decision. Why are we gonna go through all that work to have you guys tell us no? Just tell us no, and then we won't worry about it. We'll figure something else out.
Well, I'll try to figure it out, but we're not going to make a decision tonight. We're going to make it August 1st. All right, so we'll move on to the adoption of the East Windsor Senior Center policies and procedures. In your package, you have them. I've read them. They look very good to me. And maybe Melissa, do you want to comment on them at all, or needed, obviously?
Sure. So over the past year, we've been working to bring together all of the different policies and procedures that were put in many, many years ago and kind of update them to 2019 and create a formal policy and procedure book for all of the residents and non-residents that use the center so that they know what the expectations are of them when they come into the center and when they use the activities and programs. So it just basically outlays everything that you do at the center and the expectations of the people that are using the building.
And you drafted them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion. I move we approve the East Windsor Senior Center policies and procedures as presented.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
These are very thorough.
Very good. Excellent. Good job. Okay, tax refunds. I have a motion for tax refunds.
I move to approve tax refunds in a total amount of $1,488.63 dated 7/1/19.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Jason,
What?
you have, you can now, selectmen comments and reports.
Yeah. One second. Yesterday, the Pension and Investment Board met and had a busy meeting. After a volatile first half of 2019, our town's plan continues to outpace the benchmark over the life of the plan. We have seen year-to-date returns on the plan of 12.62%. Beyond the regular plan update, the board discussed possible changes to the asset allocation targets, particularly adding targets within asset subclasses. Is something that we are told would lend some stability to as the plan continues to mature and provide additional guidance to plan managers. We will be discussing those sub-asset allocation plans in the coming months. We also agreed to add more active management options to plan participants, which is something that the plan participants themselves would be paying for. It's something that they have indicated that they would like to have a little bit more leeway in determining their own future, and the board agreed to move forward with that. The Board of Selectmen had a special meeting, as Bob said, on July 11th to discuss our review of the recommended changes to the charter. In most cases, the board agreed with the proposals presented. I dissented from all but one of them for a number of reasons. We have no idea what the financial impact of the proposals will be. We did not consider any of the comments that have been offered by the public pertaining to the ideas. All of the changes can be linked to personal grievances of commission members rather than having foundations in good government. In my opinion, the recommendations will further divide our community, which I do not believe to be in our best interests. There will be, at a point in time, it was supposed to be Monday, but may change, an upcoming joint meeting between the Selectmen and the Charter Revision Commission to finalize what questions will be on the ballot. It's extremely important to word those questions in such a way so that the intentions behind them are clear. I do have some concerns that a short question does not necessarily make a clear question, so the verbiage of that will be very important to ensure a fair vote in the fall. With that said, respectfully submitted, that's all I got.
Okay, Andy.
There was no meeting of the Economic Development Commission. There will also not be a meeting in the month of August. No report.
Okay. First, I'll have to push back on what Jason said, because he's obviously saying what his opinion. And
yeah, for sure. I'm very opinionated about it.
What Jason did when he just spoke, he picked out problems with one or two and generalized them for all of them, and kind of gave the impression that all of them should be not approved, and gives an example of maybe why one shouldn't be approved. And we're all going to vote on these, so if we vote them all down, that's fine. That's what the vote's for. And he said he said he was only in favor of one. Well, there's one that says that the town treasurer should be named the finance director.
That's the one.
Okay. And there's another one that says that whenever a Connecticut general statute is referenced, then just instead of CGS, it should say CGS section 7-732 or whatever it is. So it has to be specific. That's a good one, and I think Jason would support that.
I did, and that one wasn't in front of us in writing. I did forget about that one. I'll correct that.
Okay. There's a couple others that we voted on and dropped, and I suspect Jason would support what we did in that case. So
I supported dropping them. I dissented from the underlying question.
Okay. But anyway, so that's enough of that. But I think it's important that we, as Jason said, understand the charter. It's on the. And I have one extra copy. If anybody wants a copy of what we gave to the Charter Commission, and it's important that we understand what's on them. It's important that we vote on them. So we'll see. And there's still a ways to go, but now the time's getting short. So that's so much for the charter. But a couple things I do have to report, and one is, as you all know, there was a fire last Friday evening or early Saturday morning at Mill Pond. And I knew because at 1:20 in the morning I got called up by the police department and they said, we need you at Mill Pond. And so I went down there and the fire was out, and again, as you probably read in the paper, when Tom Arcari got there, there were flames coming out of the H building, about 6 foot in the air, and so it was a pretty good fire. The way Mill Pond's built, in this case, there were 3 apartment buildings, and the only thing that was separating was a wall. So you had entrances that would go in to the 3 buildings, but the roofs were all tied together, and so really, not only was the H building affected, but the G and the J, and they were all evacuated, but the J went back in, and most people in the G, three apartments in the G, were damaged. And the way the fire started was, it was started on the 3rd floor in a bathroom. And I guess somebody went away for a few days and had not turned off the bathroom fan. And it heated up, started a fire in the ceiling, and it went through the rafters. And it's probably going to be at least 6 months before that building's livable. So, and what I would say from the whole fire, what impressed me the most, of course, what the police and the fire department did, but I was impressed because I didn't really understand, I never had experience what the Red Cross does. And when unfortunately, but the senior, or the center, the community center of Mill Pond was right near that building that was on fire. You could easily walk from one to the other, and all the families, or most of the families that were displaced, were there in the room, and they had about 6 Red Cross workers, and they were interviewing each family and finding places for them to stay and giving them all the needs they had, like toothbrushes and things like that. So they were just doing a fantastic job, and I don't know how the Red Cross is funded. I know some of it's is contributions, some of it may be federal, but whoever's ever funding them deserves a lot of credit. And since Melissa's sitting there, and she has been working very hard in the last week, because I believe the Red Cross just puts people up for 2 nights. So then it fell on our social services to find places for them to stay. So maybe you could say something about that?
Sure. So not all of the residents that were displaced have contacted the office yet. They've been given the contact information. Currently, we're working with 4 families that are not able to return to their home. We have one family that we placed in a hotel today, and we'll be staying there until a temporary unit can be established at Mill Pond. Mill Pond is doing as much as they can to find vacant units on property to just have the people temporarily stay until their current apartments are able to be lived in again. But due to the Relocation Act in the state of Connecticut, the town is obligated to relocate those that come and fill out an application with our department, as well as pay for their moving and storage. So it is a long process. I've only been working with 4 families so far this week, but there's 11 others that I'm anticipating will come at some point. There's no statute of limitations. They can show up at any time and just say that they were part of the fire. We have the verification list from the police department and the building department, so we're anticipating at least 6 months worth of work ourselves until we can get them back into their units. And we've been giving them toiletries that we have that have been donated, as well as some food that we've had donated as well. Most of the people that are going to be able to move back into their units are looking for furniture. We don't take donations because we have nowhere to put it. But eventually we will put out a release that these residents are looking for new furniture for their units. And it will be on a case-by-case basis for them to work out a plan to get their places furnished.
Does the facility that was damaged by fire, if they can, do they reimburse the town for any of the stay of the
So what happens now is every time we put someone into a hotel and or give them cash assistance for moving, the property is lien. So I'm working with the tax collector right now. Because it's one corporation, it's going to be one large lien instead of 15 different liens. So we don't have a dollar amount as of right now. But yes, there will be one lien that will go on to that property.
Great, thank you. Another thing I did today, I went down to the Trolley Museum in the DECD, Department of Economic and Community Development, gave the Trolley Museum, and you probably read this in the paper too, $50,000 grant to rebuild it. Old trolley car. This trolley car ran from Torrington to Winstead, and then and I guess it was started in 1922 to 1929, and then it went to New Haven and ran there until in maybe the late 30s or so. So, yeah, and the deputy commissioner was there, and he presented this check, huge check the size of that TV. And interestingly enough, it's kind of like a whiteboard, because they write on it the magic marker, but they don't give you the big check. They erase it. So that's one thing. Another thing that I just came across my desk from Dick Sherman in the American Heritage River Commission. He's giving a report on the quality of the water. And this was July 17th. And my gosh, they're all yellow and blues. This is the first time I've seen.
Wait till the weekend.
Yeah, like Route 40, even the filter beds are blue water, so you can, I don't know if you can swim in that stuff.
Wait till the weekend.
But usually they recommend kayaking.
No, blue is swimming.
Yeah, okay.
Blue swimming, yellow is boating, and red keep out.
So that's good. So that's all I got.
Can I ask just a question ahead of the blistering heat this weekend? Do we have a plan for cooling centers?
What the cooling center, in a sense, is the police department or the annex. And if what they say and what they'll do is put out something on their Facebook, and we'll put something on our website saying if you have a problem, if you're having a problem with heating and cooling, maybe, do you want to say it? Okay. Then you call 911 or you call the police department, and they'll make sure you're in a cool place. That's basically what we have. I think. My understanding. Okay, so we'll go into executive session.
Move to adjourn?
Not move to adjourn. So
Move to go into
I'll turn off
executive
the camera.